Hi, my name is Mr. Cordes, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go over and review the district writing for quarter one for ninth grade students. The district writing, ladies and gentlemen, is designed to figure out where you are with your writing. It's a way for us teachers to understand what skills and what techniques we need to work with. So while the district writing seems overwhelming, okay, especially when we use the word district, it's really just a way for us teachers to evaluate how you're doing on your writing. We want to see where you are. We've been in school now for 9 weeks. You have learned a lot. You've read stories. You've done a lot of writing. There's been lots of activities. Our goal now, ladies and gentlemen, is to figure out where we are with our writing to see if we're on track. So the district writing happens the first quarter and the third quarter. Hopefully, there will be some sort of growth in between the two writing prompts. So right now, we just kind of want to see where you are after the first 9 weeks of school. And then we're going to check to see where you are towards the end of school. This will help us teachers say, hey, we need to work on grammar. We need to work on analysis. We need to work on textual evidence. This just helps us teachers to identify where you are in your writing. Now, you will need a blank piece of paper. Take a moment, pause. I need you to pull out a blank piece of paper. If your teacher has provided you with a blank piece of paper or a prompt, you can either use the backside or you can use the space at the bottom, but you need to have something tangible. You're not going to put anything on the computer because when you do your writing, it will all be done in person and not online. So if you have a tangible piece of paper in front of you, you will be able to use those notes on your writing in the next lesson, okay? So let's first, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at the prompt, okay? The prompt itself, and let me see if I can find it. Here we go. The prompt, ladies and gentlemen, what you see here, you should have a piece of paper, or the prompt tomorrow, let me start over. The prompt tomorrow will look similar to this. There'll be a place for your name, your teacher's name, your school. There'll be a whole set of instructions. And then down here, there's a prompt, okay? This, ladies and gentlemen, is the prompt that we need to talk about and write about. And I'd actually like you guys to take a moment. On your new piece of paper, we need to write on this prompt. So anything that I'm writing, you guys are going to be writing as well. So this is the big question. Okay, if you would, let's write this onto our new blank piece of paper. Let me pull it up for us here. Okay, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see. How does empathy impact one's decision and or worldview? If you need to pause so you can write it out, please pause. But take a moment at the very top of your page. This is the prompt. This is the question that we have to answer. How does empathy impact one's decisions and or worldview? Okay. Now, teachers are going to look at your writing and see if you are able to explain this idea of empathy, of decision making, of the world, how it impacts the worldview. So there's a lot of components and it's really overwhelming. So our goal today is to break it down so we get a full page of notes to understand exactly what we're writing about. Okay, that's the goal. For when you're done with this video, you should know exactly what you're writing about and you should have a whole list of information that will be helpful when you put together your essay in the next lesson. Okay, so how does empathy impact one's decision and or worldview? Before we look at this, you guys have had a chance to write it down. Let's continue to look at the prompt. So there's lots of things that they're wanting you to do. They want you to just respond to all of the parts of the prompt. Okay. Have you talked and discussed about all of the components? And we're going to go over that today. Do you have a clear thesis statement? Remember, a thesis statement is the point you're trying to prove. Okay. You need evidence from at least 2 or 3 selections that you've read, multiple paragraphs. You need to have thoughtful analysis. Thoughts are clearly organized and obviously demonstrate a command of the English language. That simply means, ladies and gentlemen, that you're able to write and write well. Okay. So before we do any of that, and before we start to pull apart the prompt, let me show you guys the rubric. This is how teachers would grade you for the rubric. Your goal, ladies and gentlemen, is to get anywhere from a 6 to a 5 to a 4. If you score anywhere from a 6, a 5 to a 4, that means you are right on track with the ninth grade writing. You are demonstrating that you are a ninth grade student, that you're able to write at the ninth grade level, and that you are able to respond to the topic. You're able to understand what you've read. You have clear thoughts. You have good organization. And down here is you've got good control of the English language. You have quality sentences. Your sentences make sense. You've got capital letters. You've got periods at the end of a sentence. You are in control of your language, okay? So if you get a 6, a 5, or a 4, well done, congratulations. You are right on track, okay? If you score a 3, that means you're right on track. There's a few items that we would need to help you with, okay? But you're still like in the ninth grade realm. If you score a 2 or a 1, this is like the danger zone. This is where us teachers begin to be concerned or worried about your writing. And we need to figure out, us teachers, we need to figure out what we can do to help you improve upon this area. So you struggle, you give me 2 or 3 sentences, they don't really make sense. That means you're struggling with your writing and you cannot write and articulate your thoughts. We need to help you. And that's really what this is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the opportunity for us to help you. We want to say, hey, Billy needs help. Susan needs help. We're going to help you. So this right here, this district writing is to help us, help you, make sure that you're right on track with your writing, okay? So you guys probably remember doing this in the 8th grade, 7th grade, in years past. You'll continue to do this, I believe, all the way up until your 11th grade year. So it's very important that we focus in and that we do our best, okay? So at this moment in time, you've listened to me for 7 minutes. You're like, oh, this guy. I see you. How does empathy impact one's decision and or worldview? We need to pull this apart. We need to figure out what's going on. Anything that I'm writing up over here on the board, I want you guys to be writing on your piece of paper. Have that pen or pencil set and ready to go, because you are creating your notes and your guide and your outline for tomorrow. So let's look. Here's the prompt. How does empathy impact one's decision and or worldview? First thing let's go for, and I want to change the color so that you guys can see this is different than before. So I'm just going to go back to the basic ink color. How does empathy impact one's decisions and or worldview? So if I look at worldview, I need to understand what worldview is. Worldview is my perspective, right? You guys have your worldview right now based upon where you live, based upon your family, based upon your friends. That's how you view and see the world, okay? If I was living overseas, if I was living in a different state, if I was living in a different city, if I was way out in Corona or Redlands, I would have a different perspective based on my surroundings. So my worldview is my perspective, okay? It's based on my surroundings, my friends and family, okay? It's based upon every influential item that you have coming at you. So that could be religion, that could be your how disciplined you are. It could be how upbringing, right? Your what was your childhood like? There's a lot of things that we have as far as a worldview. So this is my perspective. This is based on my surroundings. These are my friends and family. This is my culture. Okay. This is my upbringing. These are anything that influences how you see the world. Okay? How you see the world. And there's lots of things in our world today that are very controversial. And there's people who sit on both sides of an argument or sit on both sides of a discussion. And so it's important for us to know what is influencing me for how I see those things. Okay? You may experience this when you're talking with your friends or your family and they have a different view of a subject, and it's because of how they were brought up, their culture, their norms, everything that's implied to them. Okay? So worldview really is the perspective. It's based on my surroundings, my friends and my family, my culture, right? There's lots of influences for us. And of course, this affects our decisions. Holy mackerel. There we go. Decisions. Decisions for us are our choices, right? You make a decision whether or not you are going to do your homework, which then affects your grade in your English class, right? If you go to practice for sports or music or theater or choir, that's your decision in order to help you achieve some sort of goal. You make decisions, whether they are right or wrong, based upon lots of different influences. Okay, you may make a decision because your friend made a decision. They're going to go over here for lunch. I'm going to go with them, right? You've probably heard you've probably heard your parents say, if your friends jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? They're talking about, are you going to make that same decision? Decisions are our choices, right? They could be right and wrong. Okay, let's take a moment, write that down on our piece of paper. The decisions that we have, right? There's some sort of outcome at the end. I make a decision to stay up super late. The outcome is that I'm going to be tired the next day. Okay. I make a decision not to finish my schoolwork. There's going to be an outcome. Okay. You can make lots of right and wrong decisions. I'm going to go to this party, even though my parents said no. And then suddenly what happens, right? If you get caught or they find out, there's lots of outcomes to that. So our decisions, this is where we select the best option, okay? We select what we want out of various options, okay? You can go down to McDonald's. They've got lots of decisions for you. You're going to have a number 1, you're going to have a number 5. Are you going to get a regular sized or upgrade, right? You have to make decisions and you have to think about what are the outcomes of those decisions. I love McDonald's, great, but holy cow, does that hurt my stomach about an hour and a half later, right? I have to make sure that I know what's right and wrong. I have to know what the outcome is. I select, okay? We select what we want out of the various options, okay? So now, our question states, here's our prompt. Look at the prompt again. It says, how does empathy impact one's decision? If we say impact, let's think of some other words or phrases for impact, because impact sounds like this gigantic meteor that's going to come down and hit, and there's going to be a great impact. If we look, let's actually do this, ladies and gentlemen, and you guys can write down some of these words on your paper. If we go to the thesaurus, okay, thesaurus is a place where we can find other words or phrases for the same thing. So if I have the word impact, here is some options. So I'm going to move myself over here. So this first is collision or force. I don't think empathy has like the collision or force, right? The two cars where they hit on impact, that means something else. What we want to do is we want to click the effect button and look at all these other words and phrases that will help us understand the idea of impact. Burden, impression, influence, that might be a good one. I'm going to write that one down. Influence. Something impacts me, it makes an influence. Okay, my parents impacted me, therefore it's an influence on me. Significance, meaning. Oh, I like those two words. Let's put that down. Significance, meaning. Let's say, imprint, power, full force, mark, like not mark like the person, but mark like this makes a mark on me. significance, influence, meaning, repercussion. Repercussion has like a negative connotation, so I don't necessarily know if we want to use that. But impact still has the idea of there's some sort of outcome. Okay, so impression. We can mark that one down right there. I'll move myself back. So how does empathy impact one's decision and or worldview? So how does empathy influence, offer some significance, offer a meaning, offer impressions, right? How does that change my decisions or change my worldview? Okay. Now here's the bigger question. What is empathy? That's what we need to know right now. We need to come up with a definition for empathy. Okay. Now, along with this assignment and this video in the Google Classroom, or wherever your teacher has posted it, there are 2 other videos about empathy. Okay. One of them is called The Importance of Empathy. There's that one. That one is 3 minutes long, 3 minutes, 30 seconds. There's another one titled, what's the title of this one? Brene Brown on empathy. She's a speaker. This is my favorite one out of the 2. This one is only less than 3 minutes long. But we need to gather the information about what empathy is and then be able to write it down. So I'm going to have you watch both of those videos. Pause myself. Pause this video. After you watch it, come on back and let's get a definition for empathy. So please take a moment, watch those 2 videos. You should be paused. I should be paused. And now that you've had a chance to watch those 2 empathy videos, we need to come up with a definition. So in empathy is the idea of sitting in the same emotional state as someone else. This person is sad. My best friend is sad. I'm going to be sad too and make a connection with them based upon those feelings. Okay? Emotion drives us a lot of times. You're angry, you're frustrated, you're sad, you're happy. Emotions drive us, right? So empathy deals with our emotions. Okay? It deals with our emotions. There's nothing, we can't disregard that. If you watched this one, empathy and sympathy are different. So empathy is where you sit with someone in their emotions. Sympathy is like, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry that happened. And you kind of just almost pity them. As where sympathy is like, oh my gosh, how frightening. Oh my gosh, how joyous, right? If you have ever seen those videos online about students opening their emails about college acceptance and their family is there, their family is demonstrating empathy. They are joyful, sad, excited, nervous. They are sitting in the same emotional state as those people, as those students who are going off to college and living in those same emotions. Okay, that's the idea of empathy, having empathy for someone. Let's take a moment. Let's mark that down. First off, empathy deals with our emotions, right? It's almost like this emotional maturity. It's sitting in the same emotional like place or feeling as someone else who share the same experience. Okay? Who share the same experience. So, now we have to figure out what we're writing about. How does empathy impact one's decision and or worldview? How does sitting in the same emotional place as someone influence the decisions that I make? How does sitting in the same emotional space, having the same feelings as someone who's going through something tragic, something happy, whatever, how does that change my worldview? How does that change my decisions? right? How does that impact? How does that influence me? How does that modify or revise who I am as a person? Okay. So if we take a look, that's our big question. Okay. And let's kind of rewrite that maybe on our page. And if you've had additional notes, fantastic. Because right now you were kind of able to pull all of these things together. How am I influenced? Or maybe let's back up just a second. How does the same emotional experience change or influence how I make decisions or see the world? Maybe that's a better way of looking at it. Let me bold that. Let me underline that. Let me make that just a little bit bigger so you guys can see. But this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is probably what we're going after now. Okay. How does the same emotional experience, which is empathy, right? Same emotional experience. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, this is empathy. Okay. Let me highlight this one too. How does empathy change or influence my decisions that I make in the world? Okay. And you'll actually notice with the stories that we've read so far this semester, over the last 9 weeks of school, you will notice that there are certain places where characters will have the same emotional connection, and therefore that changes their decisions or that influences them on how they see the world. So let's take a moment and write down some of the pieces of literature that we've done. For my class, we've studied Of Mice and Men. Okay. That was by John Steinbeck. You may have read that one. You may have not, which is perfectly fine. My class also read a short story called The Necklace by Guy de Maupassant. Okay. I'm going to underline Of Mice and Men because it's a book title. I want to make sure that I identify my sources. We also read a short story called The Scarlet Ibis. Okay, and that was by James Hurst. You may have read some other stories. I know some teachers read The Old Man and the Sea by John Steinbeck. I know some other teachers have read like Marigolds, which is a short story. You guys have pulled lots of different things. Can you take a moment? Can you write down at least 3 more stories that you've read this year, if they're not on this list? Also, think back to maybe your 8th grade year. What were some 8th grade stories that you read? I know for a majority of you guys, you read The Outsiders, which, oh gosh, I forget the guy. Hilton, I believe. Why don't you raise your hand, ask your teacher, double check on that one. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. I know The Diary of Anne Frank was one in 8th grade. I know that if you guys can think back all the way to 7th grade, there was, oh gosh, my mind, The Giver. I forget who wrote that one. Lois Lowry, I think. I'm going to put a question mark there. So these ones you may need to raise your hand to ask your teacher. You may need to go home tonight and double check. But take a moment. If there was another short story that you read or another story where a character had to make a decision, right? Take a moment and mark those down. Now, actually, if you want to pause this video right here, take a moment and get all of your stories, all of your authors, okay? And now we're going to kind of begin to piece together our writing. So we first need to create a thesis statement. Remember, is the point you're trying to prove. So can you guys finish this sentence? The point I'm trying to prove is, and I need you to finish this sentence, okay, on your piece of paper. Can you please finish this sentence based upon what you know? The point I'm trying to prove is that when we have the same emotional experience as someone else, it is an impressionable on the decisions that we make. The point I'm trying to prove is that empathy influences how I see things as right or wrong. The point I'm trying to prove is empathy, feeling the same as someone else and sharing an experience, changes my perspective of the world. Okay? Take a moment using all of this information up here, guys. Can you pull some of that information and create a good thesis statement? Once you have that good thesis statement, make sure it's written on your page. If you feel like it's solid, it's good, raise your hand, ask your teacher, say, hey, is this a good thesis statement? If you feel confident and you want to carry on without asking for the teacher's guidance, you can do that as well. Okay. Either before school or after school or in between classes, you could probably ask, hey, here's my thesis statement. What do you guys think of this one? Okay. So the point I'm trying to prove is, now, as we put together our body paragraphs, here's some things to remember. In a body paragraph, you have certain items, okay? So you have your topic sentence, which comes first, okay? Then you have your textual evidence. This is stuff from the book, okay? This is like a quote. This is, I call it in my classroom, concrete detail, okay? This is evidence of your character showing empathy, okay? From there, you would have your, it's sometimes called commentary. Sometimes it's your thoughts or your analysis about how influence the character, okay? And normally you'll have about 2 sentences of commentary. Let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen. You need to articulate yourselves well. You need to explain yourself well. And usually you'll have about 2 sentences of analysis. And then the last one is that concluding sentence where you sum up the paragraph in a new way and kind of drive it home. So let me actually, let's bring this down. Okay. This is all review for you guys. You guys have studied body paragraphs. You have put together some sort of writing with your English teacher. You start off with the topic sentence. Your textual evidence this time around is an example of your character showing empathy. Okay? When did the narrator have empathy for his brother Doodle in The Scarlet Ibis? When did George have empathy for Lenny? When did your character have empathy for someone else? And you're going to put down that example right here. Okay? That's what you're going to do. That's what that is right there. Okay? These commentary sentences, these are your thoughts. This is your analysis. This is your insight into the story. It's a very vibrant green right there. Okay. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where you say, this is how it changed their decisions. This is how it impact and influenced them. Okay? This is how they changed. This is how their world was changed, right? Mademoiselle, for the necklace, her whole worldview was changed because of what happened when she had to show empathy with her husband, right? And her husband said, no, we're going to replace this necklace. And she tried to do that. Okay. So how does that work? Think back to The Outsiders. There's lots of characters in there who kind of have empathy and are empathetic towards each other. Okay. Diary of Anne Frank. How did she sit in an emotional space with those who were around her or who weren't around her and based upon what was happening, right? Her worldview definitely changed. Okay. So as you think of your stories, as you think of your novels that you've been reading, as you think of the ones from the past, take a moment, and those are the items that you're going to talk about. Now, if you remember let me see if I can find it. The prompt says that you need to use 2 to 3 selections that you have studied. So that means, ladies and gentlemen, you need 2 to 3 examples of characters showing empathy and explaining how their decisions or worldview changes. Okay, that's that impact. That's that significance. That's that impression that is playing there. Okay, so 2 to 3 examples. So if you want to use one from The Outsiders, one from a short story that you read in your class, and one from what, like, if you want to use those 3, absolutely. Okay, so if you want to organize your paper, and this is, I'm going to allow you guys some time to do that before the end of the class, is to organize, these are my examples. Okay, so example 1, example 2, and if you want to go for example 3, you can, and offer up, here's what happens, and you're going to do this for each one. Those become your body paragraphs. Okay, your teachers can help you piece together your intro paragraphs. However, intro paragraphs are simply like done what they were or how they've been done in your classroom before. So it's the same format. Give me a general sentence. What are the stories that you're using? Drive it home with your thesis statement. Okay, you go, each one of these would be a body paragraph. Okay, because you've got your topic sentence and you got your concluding sentence. Okay, no. Topic sentence introduces the paragraph topic, right? You've got your concluding sentence, which kind of summarizes and drives home the main point. But right here, you are talking and explaining about how these characters have an emotional experience with someone else, and that influences their decisions. It influences how they see the world. Okay, so you explain those items in these components, right? You explain about how empathy influenced the character. What changes are noticed in their decisions or worldview. Okay. Now, this was a lot of information. You've watched through everything. If you are lost or confused, raise your hand. Rewatch this video if you need to. Take the time tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on your piece of paper to almost outline what you want to write about. And so when you come in tomorrow and you've got your 1 page of notes, you are able to use that to the best of your knowledge. Okay. If you have questions or concerns, just let me know. Raise your hand, ask your teacher. They'll be more than willing to come over and help. Do your best. We really just want to see where you are with your writing. We want to be able to help you with your writing. Following this will definitely be a part of that journey. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Talk to you later.